Thank you, everybody, for coming to the College Football Betting with Aaron Torres YouTube channel. If you could do me a quick favor, see that little subscribe button at the bottom of the screen. Go ahead, click that subscribe button. It helps our channel grow. It helps our audience grow. I appreciate it more than you know as we're talking college football on this channel year round. Appreciate your support. Click that subscribe button. Let's talk about a super intriguing game in the swamp Saturday afternoon. Ole Miss at Florida. The spread in this one, Ole Miss minus 10.5. The over-under in this one set at 56.5 for this game. And it looks like it's down to 55.5. And I bring it up because what a difference a few weeks can make. Okay, so Ole Miss was on a bye last week. We know what they did 2 weeks ago against Georgia. But how about them Florida Gators? Okay, now listen, first of all, if you listen to this show, we have been on the Gators for a while. Not as a great team. They're not a national championship contender. They're not a playoff contender. But we've been saying it for weeks. We've been saying it for weeks on the Aaron Torres pod show as well, which is this. They've actually been pretty good after their first bye. First part of the season, they did struggle. It was not pretty. Embarrassed by Miami at home, embarrassed by Texas A&M at home. But we've talked about it. Billy Napier has been vocal about the fact that they had some padded practices during their first bye, made it a little bit more competitive. They came out, they destroyed Central Florida out of the first bye. The final score doesn't really reflect it, but they beat them pretty bad. They kind of took their foot off the gas in the second half. Went to Knoxville, easily could have beaten Tennessee. They lose in overtime, destroy Kentucky, go into the second bye, and I keep saying it, they were in control of that game against Georgia before DJ Lagway gets hurt. So that was where they were. Then they announced Billy Napier's coming back. Everybody freaks out. This is Florida. How can you do this? They lose to Texas, third string quarterback. What a shocker. And then DJ Lagway comes back, and we saw what this program has become and this team has become with DJ Lagway as their present and future quarterback. They're a very good team. They are bought into Billy Napier. They are playing hard. They've been playing hard for about 8-9 weeks now. Now, I can't dismiss the fact that the first 2-3 weeks it wasn't pretty, but they have been playing hard. And I think the thing that stands out, everybody's focused on DJ Lagway, and I find myself guilty of that as well. I think it's easy to look too much at the five-star quarterback who's come in and played pretty well. I don't think people fully realize how good the run game and the defense has been. Last week against LSU, 113 yards rushing, but only on 17 carries, which comes out to a little under 7 yards per carry. A few weeks before that, against Georgia, they were able to move the football on the ground. Against Kentucky, which has a pretty good run defense, or they did till they played the Florida Gators, 197 yards rushing, 4.6 yards per carry. They have been able to move the ball on the ground. And then the defense has just been phenomenal. 7 sacks, 11 tackles for loss against LSU. LSU didn't know what hit them. LSU couldn't move the ball. And this team is playing lights out on both sides of the ball, pretty much offense, defense, you name it. Good kicker, special teams, etc. Don't let a game against Texas when Florida had its third string quarterback in, a kid who was playing at Yale last year, reflect how you feel about this Florida team. They are improved. There is no doubt about it. You got to give Billy Napier credit. What concerns me, though, about this game is that, as I said a second ago, the run offense has been much better, but here's the big worry. Ole Miss, that run defense is, whoa, buddy. It is freaking good, okay? I think I said earlier that Indiana was the number 2 run defense in college football. It's actually Ole Miss. Ole Miss is number 2. Indiana's number 1. Doesn't really matter. Ole Miss has given up under 80 yards rushing per game. That is an unbelievable stat. And this Ole Miss defense is so much better than people realize. And we've talked about this with Tennessee a little bit, but with Ole Miss, I think so many people are so caught up on Lane Kiffin, Jackson Dart, the offense, the this, the that. Well, as we all know, last year in the portal, they went really heavy along the defensive front. Walter Nolan, the kid from Florida, Princely Mamielin, I believe is how you say his name. I apologize, but it has paid off with big dividends. And you look at the scores of these games that Ole Miss is playing. They're not playing shootouts. They lose to Kentucky 2017. They beat South Carolina 27-3. LSU 29-26, but remember that game went to overtime. They beat Oklahoma 26-14. They beat Georgia last week 28-10. Now Arkansas 63-31 was the final score, But that was a game where they got up big. They took their foot off the gas. The Hogs scored some points late. And so when I look at this game, listen, I think Florida's playing much better. I think Billy Napier deserves credit. But my official best bet, I'm going to stay away from the spread, and I'm just going to take the under because I made this mistake a few weeks ago with the Ole Miss Arkansas game. As I said, well, Arkansas is playing well. Arkansas's had success against Ole Miss in Fayetteville. They'll figure it out. And it was like, boom, the game was over in 30 seconds. Okay. I don't think it's going to be that way for Florida on Saturday, but I do think the matchup last week for Florida did favor them against LSU. This one to me, though, does favor Ole Miss, and let me explain why. It is because while we hype DJ Lagway, while we get excited about DJ Lagway, the reason that this offense has moved the ball the way that they have is because of the run game. If you look at DJ Lagway's stats, and this is not a criticism, it's just a reality, he's been okay. He hasn't been great. Against LSU, 13 of 26 passing, 226 yards. That's 50% completion percentage. Against Kentucky, 7 of 14 passing, no touchdowns, 1 interception, 50% completion percentage. Georgia, he only threw 6 passes before the injury, 2 of 6. And then Tennessee obviously came in permanently when Graham Mertz got hurt, 9 of 17 passing. That's 53% completion percentage, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. So the bottom line is, I think in life, and I say this on the Aaron Torres pod all the time, 2 things can be true. I think that Florida made the right decision to bring back Billy Napier. I think DJ Lagway is a big reason. I think if you fire Billy Napier, you're hoping that in 3 years from now, your quarterback situation is as good as it currently is right now for the Gators. But I also sit there and say that that doesn't mean that DJ Lagway can't struggle right now, especially when the run game gets cut off, which I think happens with Ole Miss. As I said, if you look at Ole Miss's schedule, take out the Arkansas game when it just turned into a shootout because Arkansas had no answers on defense. And most of these games are super low scoring. South Carolina, which put up 40 whatever points against Texas A&M, held to 3 points at home. Oklahoma held to 14 points. Georgia held to 10 points. I think Ole Miss wins this game. I'm going to say something in the neighborhood of 27-10, 24-10, something like this. I think that number is actually way too high. I don't think Florida moves the ball nearly as well as they did last week against LSU. I think Ole Miss can cover 10.5 on the road. Feels like a lot, even though I know they covered that number by a significant margin, larger than that against Arkansas. But the under of 55.5 just feels right to me. Go ahead, give me the Rebels and the Gators to go under 55.5.